Hi. Hey, welcome to Control Talk Now. This is your host, Eric Stromquist. I am joined, as usual, by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show, bud.
Oh, thanks a lot, Eric. It's great to be back, and there's a lot to cover again. We got some exciting information, updates regarding the Control Trends Awards show in Chicago, and we've got a great week that we covered here, and we'll get started here as soon as we talk about our sponsors. Our sponsors this week is the platinum sponsor, Siemens. On a macro level, everybody knows about Siemens. They're global. They do things with automation technologies, building technologies, consumer products, smart grid solutions, drive technology, energy, financial services, healthcare. It goes on and on. But we're talking about Siemens on a micro distribution level this week and the impact they're making in commercial components. In fact, Siemens just released a battery of new products, beginning with the BT300 variable frequency drive, then also the condensation monitors, the RDY2000 series, the MD power meters, and then the PPMs, which are a variety of digital BACnet MST point pickup modules. And contact your local Siemens distributor and get hip on this, because they got some great new commercial components products.
They sure do, Kenny, and they've got several products that are up for the 2014 Control Trends Awards, including their pressure independent control valve. We'll talk more about those later. Joshua Feldman's up for an award, and one of their executives is up. So we really do appreciate Siemens, as well as all our sponsors for the 2014 Control Trends Awards, which will be taking place in Chicago. It's January 26th, right, Kenny? It's that Monday of the show from 6 to 8. And Kenny, we're so pumped up about it, we can't see straight. You and I actually meet a special guest in Chicago this week to check out the facility and also to make the announcements for our finalists. If you remember last year what we did, we went around New York City to different locations to sort of give you a flavor for the city. We're going to hopefully do the same thing in Chicago this year. So stay tuned to the announcements for the finals. Those will be on or before next week's show.
Oh, sure, Zach. I'm really excited. And we've had really some very, very mild weather lately. I don't know about you guys. And we're still licking our wounds from the butt whooping we got from Georgia Tech. University of Pittsburgh got just creamed at their home court on their homecoming by your guys from Georgia Tech. So, man, but it was a great afternoon. Autumn, crisp air, 50, 55 degrees, beautiful sunshiny day. And but life goes on. Can't win every game.
And you can't at all. I tell you what. Well, the good news for me is the Falcons are so bad I don't even have to watch them anymore. So it gives me a lot more time. As you guys probably noticed, we are actually video streaming today as well as doing the podcast. Mm-hmm. You can find that on ControlTrends.org. And, of course, the podcast will continue with that format because it's so popular and so easy. But, yeah, Kenny, it's, actually the Falcons were on at 9:30 this morning because they were playing in London. And I tell you what a comedy of errors. They jump out to a 21-0 lead first half. They wind up losing by a field goal. It's so bad, Kenny, they didn't score in the second half. Their luck is so bad that the guy Detroit gets it down, 3 seconds left. They go to kick a field goal, and the guy misses the field goal. But guess what? They used too much time, and Atlanta couldn't decline the penalty, so they moved them back 5 yards. And, of course, the guy nails it the second time around. So the Falcons sort of fall into that adage, Kenny, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. So I'm over football, so we're going to try to do the video as well as the podcast for a time. It's pretty much double work, but I think it's kind of cool. It's worth it, and it's I sort of enjoy doing it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this. But Kenny, now Georgia Tech. Different story. That guy, Paul Lewis, I forget his last name, but he is like the master of the triple option. I don't think there's anybody on the planet that knows how to run that better than he does. And he always does it. And he can make adjustments, blocking adjustments. He doesn't write anything down. He does it all just by looking at the angles and how people are blocking and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, Kenny, but also, Calvin Johnson, Megatron, plays for Detroit, played for this guy at Georgia Tech in the triple option. Demarius Thomas from Denver the same way. So they do put some good receivers out, which is pretty interesting. All right, big dog. So what do you have up first?
Well, Eric, the first post we were going to talk about is the Control Trends people, KMC's Controls, Eric Kruder. And man, this is a marvelous post because he's an amazing fellow in his own right. He belongs to a legacy in the control world, the Kruder KMC Controls, and you can tell us a little bit about that. But what I liked about his interview was how straightforward he was about getting involved, taking some aspect of our industry, whether it's electronics, whether it's electricity, whether it's one of the union trades, steam fitter, whatever, and then the tech schools. But get involved, and from there, it's a springboard into DDC, into building automation. We were talking about how we can take an educational platform and view on getting involved handsomely in the HVAC world, and he had some great recommendations. So it's a great video. I highly recommend everybody watch that from start to finish. And tell us about, you interviewed him, so tell us your version of Mr. Eric Kruder.
Well,
you same names?
yeah, I tell you what, Eric Kruder, dude, I didn't think there were any other families in the controls industry that had more siblings involved in HVAC controls business than the Smyers family out of Pittsburgh. But I tell you what, Kenny, I think Eric is the grandson of the founder, Ken Kruder. I think he had 4 or 5 children, Ken did, that are all involved in the business. I hope I've got this right, but if not all of them, most of them are, and they all have grandkids. So it really is a family-run business, Kenny, and, you know, it sort of smacks of the family values. Eric, again, is a very articulate guy. I think KMC Controls, you know, is a rebranding themselves, but it is the Kruder Controls people. Very, very, you know, Kenny, they're all about, you know, really strong values, integrity, doing the right thing. I was super impressed with Eric. I thought he was just a really, really awesome guy, knows the products. He talked about the Simply VAV control. Simply VAV is actually up for the best VAV controller of the year at the 2014 Control Trends Awards, and did a great job with that. They were in for some live stream training, so enjoyed it. But at KMC Controls, they got a microsite, which is simplyvav.com. You can go check out all the video on that. But Kenny, I mean, you've looked at Simply VAV a bit. A lot of great features about that product, I would say, huh?
It's amazing. Well, you can use it to integrate, you know, SPACnet, as the KMC said in the video there. They're probably they're committed to BACnet, and so you get a chance to integrate that into your DDC solutions, or it's a standalone. But what they've done is they've really simplified it. You know, VAV projects, they represent probably one of the largest integration solution opportunities applications that we deal with in the DDC business. But it's a great opportunity for contractors serving the commercial and institutional customers. It's an open system protocol. KMC takes great pride in being a leader in the PIC statements. They don't play around. There's no simple. They want to have the most straightforward, easiest to understand contribution to the BACnet protocol available to eliminate, you know, lost time trying to integrate something that should be readily integratable into your system. So I think they're doing a great job, and I think this is one of the most exciting years as far as products go, where VAV controllers have surfaced, and you know, additional you know, manufacturers have come up to create tremendous VAV opportunities for contractors and distributors.
They really have, Kenny. They really have, and I think, you know, there's a new breed of VAV controller too, and I think our friends at Neptronic have a version of that. Simply VAV is definitely that. It is really the everyday man's VAV controller, meaning you do not need a computer to configure it or set it up. Like you said, it is BACnet, true BACnet. They're very open with that, and the advantage of that, Kenny, is I guess some BACnet controllers have hidden objects or proprietary objects that you can't get to easily unless you're using that manufacturer's front end. And KMC and Eric will pretty much tell you that theirs is right there. What it means for an integrator is that there are no hidden surprises or you know, problems when you're trying to integrate points and make that happen. So really good stuff there, Kenny. And again, the fact that you can take one thermostat, program your VAV controller, and go from VAV controller to VAV controller and not even use a computer is awesome. So they're looking at it, you know, people that know KMC controls, Kenny, know that, you know, they're the stop sign, right? The pneumatic velocity reset controllers, that's KMC. They're really looking at this as a replacement for that. They still sell tons of those, Kenny, But I think what can happen is your everyday contractor can go out, instead of dealing with the pneumatic velocity reset controllers, they can take one of these simply VAV controllers, put it in for their customers at a very competitive price point, and then that controller is there later on if that owner wants to integrate it full-blown to a full-blown DDC system. They can pick it up very easily through a backnet connection. I think they're building it sort of from the outside in, if you will, where a lot of the people that we work with are really dialed into selling the jobs. They're, all about integrating back to the DDC system. And those are great too, don't get me wrong. But because there's such diversity with the VAV controllers, we added that category this year, the best VAV controller of the year. And KMC and Neptronics and several others are going to be right in there giving people like Honeywell, Johnson Controls, Delta a run for their money. So it's very, very cool. Can't wait to see how that shakes out.
Indeed, Eric. Indeed.
What do we have up next, Kenny?
Well, next up, Eric, we had GC Valves Tech Tip 2 of 2, part 2 of 2, sensible precautions for solenoid valve users. And just to review the one of two, we really we take for granted that everything works from a washing machine to the car washes you go to, drinking fountains. Everything's run by solenoid valves, and we don't even appreciate that. But GC Valves is one of those companies that makes tremendous amounts of OEM equipment. They compete very strongly and readily against the ASCO Red Hat valve series. When it comes down to general purpose valves, GC Valves is one of your best options, but there's some fundamental mistakes that people make, whether it's using strainers, using Teflon tape that leaving the pieces travel downstream, and they gum up the valve from opening and closing. Basically, the solenoid valve is two-position, energized, de-energized, but it does with great force, and up to 2 inches, it's the most amazing solution for fill valves. They're just everywhere, but people don't realize it, but we saw a ton of them, and so do you. So the second Part 2 of 2 goes into the electrical and control design strategy. So you can actually do a lot more than you realize with manifold valving, and there's thin coils and connections. You need to make sure you're worried about your NEMA 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're going to put something outside, you got to make sure you don't put a general purpose valve outside in the elements. Just some basic good fundamental recommendations provided by Mr. Chuck Stevens out of the. He's out of Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania, but he is the Eastern Regional Sales Manager for GC Valves, and he does a great job. And
well, hang on, but also wasn't Uncle Jesse involved in this one too?
No, Uncle Jesse was involved in the first one. In fact, he won a. Uncle Jesse won the prize. He that was his. He did the first tech tip from Sunbury Controls, and he won a. He won a coffee mug filled with a variety of old-fashioned candies from Chuck Stevens, GC Valves.
So for those people who don't, is Kenny's brother. And, now this is not a weird like Alabama thing where, Kenny's younger brother is also his uncle. I mean, we just call him Uncle Jesse because if you listen to the last Control Talk now, Jesse, I guess, prides himself, Kenny, on being everybody's favorite uncle. Is that pretty much how that goes down?
Well, yeah, we have a lot of grandchildren, not grandchildren. We have a lot of nieces and nephews. My grandmother just passed away, so I'm still tangled to that story. But what Jesse would do, he'd visit everybody's house, and he'd always treat the kids real well and tell them, "I'm your favorite uncle." Who's your favorite uncle? Uncle Jesse. So it was, and it's been going on. Now we're all getting over 50 years old, and kids still refer to him as their favorite uncle, Jesse. But he also did it in Germany too. I lived in Germany, and there's some German. My sister Lori lives there and has children in Germany. He goes to Germany, visits, and does the same thing. Lieblingsunkel.
There you go. So if you happen to buy from Sunbury Supply, you should call up and ask for Uncle Jesse. That'd probably get him going. Hey, they do a great job too, Sunbury Supply. So another great company up here in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area that joins DMS Controls Group, who our friend, the man, the myth, the legend, and his brother David Spires are involved in. You guys are tearing it up with DDC controls up there, buddy. So congratulations on that. And listen, solenoid valves, you're right. I mean, they're everywhere. You gotta apply them right, Kenny. That's the big thing. A lot of people think you just put it in, but you got to figure out whether you need a zero differential or what kind of differential you can get across that. And so this is great information to make sure you get the right valve, because like anything else in our industry, if you misapply it, no matter how good it is, it won't work.
Well said. And that's exactly what this guidance does. So, yep. There's
Cool.
two very good posts. Check them out, part 1 and part 2.
Tell us about our next guest.
Hi, Derek. Our next guest is the one and only Richard Warner from OME Solutions. Rich is, he's got more letters after his name than anybody I know. He's got a PE, an LEED, BC&D, a CEM, a DCEP, a CXA, and an EBCP. And one day Rick's going to have to tell us what all that is, what that means.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kenny, all those letters after his name, you know what they mean? It just simply means he is the innovator. Hey, Rick, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, guys, great to be back on another installment of Innovation Corner.
Okay, Rick, so we know you are always on the cutting edge of things and with innovations and keeping up with things like that. What is the sort of coolest or latest innovation you've come across lately?
Well, I tell you, this one was so great, I tweeted it and put it on LinkedIn. Yeah, it looks like Philips took a page out of, I think it was Dirt Wall, I think I was told had this technology a number of years back, but basically Philips is has introduced the concept of connected lighting system. So right down to the individual light, LED, it's basically a PoE LED technology. It meets all the criterion of an innovative solution. I think it is going to change the way systems are installed, how they're retrofitted, how we control them, the infinite possibilities for optimization of these connected LED lighting systems. I'm really happy about the fact that it is an LED system, and this helps us kind of transcend the deleterious effects of the compact fluorescent lighting. Not a big fan of compact fluorescent for a lot of reasons. It's they really are. Even though they save energy, the compact fluorescents is dangerous technology on a lot of levels. So we really need to get past those as soon as possible.
All right, Rick, so you've been doing a ton of traveling lately. I know you attend all the shows we see at Realcomm, CoreTech, Niagara Summit. Tell us about the recent trip you had up to the University of Buffalo, the SUNY Education Systems, and the cast of characters that you came across with, and some of the programs they're doing to integrate the students with the facility managers competing for energy and reducing carbon footprint.
When you think about hubs of innovation, Buffalo, New York doesn't come to mind, but I really tell you, the folks up there, they're great folks. They're my kind of folks. But I was actually specifically at the University of Buffalo. Hats off to those guys. What a great event they put on, and I learned so much. From an innovation perspective, they really put a nice mobile interface together. You can actually download the app. It's on Microsoft's App Store for University of Buffalo. They're part of the SUNY State University of New York system. But essentially the mobile application, not only is there a system for the faculty and staff and the facilities department, there's also one for the students. But it also provides competitive information between them, not only between them locally from building to building or department to department, but also across the U.S. So they actually are competing on their carbon footprint, their energy efficiency with other universities. So that it allows them to compete, and they do take it very seriously, and they're probably one of the more efficient universities building for building as a campus system. So really great group. They had the folks from Microsoft up there, and just a great event. So I'd like to give a shout out to the guys at UNS Services for putting that on, and they great group of guys. Tim Geiger introduced me to some interesting people. Got to meet the New York's Green Czar, Richard Kaufman. They're really putting a lot of financing behind that. Actually, the other gentleman that I run into was Alfred Griffin, who's just started up the New York Green Bank through the NYSERDA group. Financing's out there, but anyway, the guys at UNS did a great job. They're bringing me a couple interesting projects to collaborate on, and stay tuned for the upcoming activities that we're going to be engaged in with those guys. I think these are, from my perspective, ground zero for this type of development and innovation, because you got a lot of things there. You have the culture, you have the young up and comers. The interesting thing about University of Buffalo, this was the setting for this was in their engineering sciences and research facility. So they're doing things with cognitive robotics. Robotics capable of understanding domain ontologies and things like that. They also have a great electrical engineering sciences, material sciences department. They have some. They can run product that's capable of doing 40% efficient PV cells. So just great, not only development of the technology, but also using the technology to make the campus environment that much better. So across the country, I'm seeing a lot of great technology being implemented by universities and campuses. Great ground zero area for innovation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have him, Rick Warner, the innovator. You'll probably be seeing Rick at the 2014 Control Trends Awards. Rick, thanks for taking a couple minutes to drop by.
Yep, thanks, guys, and looking forward to the next installment or episode of the Innovation Corner, and thanks to everybody out there for supporting us.
All right, next up we have the Control Trends Training, Understanding Pressure Controls, Part 1. And this was a really good post. Thanks to Mike Glenn from Johnson Controls for the great training videos on understanding pressure control fundamentals. And it's a great layout. Again, I recommend everybody in the Control Trends community take some time to visit, especially with new techs, because it tells you where everything goes and what you basically how to troubleshoot. And it talks about the sequence of how a compressor turns on, turns off, and what's important about the pressure, the upside and downside.
No, absolutely, Kenny. I tell you what, one of the things we're trying to do at Control Trends is become more and more involved with, providing training. So, like, for example, if you go to Control Trends now, you see a training resource center. We're trying to take every training video we can get from a manufacturer. We're putting it there by manufacturer. So you can go and look at Belimo training videos, KMC training videos. So it's a massive project and an ongoing project, as you can imagine. But we're trying to be a sole source or a source that you can go to get training videos on anything that revolving HVAC controls or building automation controls. And Mike Glenn from Johnson Controls came in. Mike and Johnson Controls are dedicated to this too. And Mike's a really good teacher, Kenny. I mean, he takes the complex, explains it really well. So this was the first series he did on understanding pressure controls. This is primarily refrigeration stuff, which we all get involved in. But I don't know about you. I hadn't had a lot of training on it. It's not necessarily that it's complicated. It's just that you don't know what you don't know. And so look for Mike to have the high pressure series should go out next week, and we'll continue those training classes, Kenny, and we want to archive them. So if a manufacturer doesn't have something already, Kenny, then what we're going to do is we're going to create those videos. If you'd like to be trained on something, reach out to us in comments, because between the resources Kenny has, between him and his brother David, the resources we have at Stromquist and Company, between Rob Allen, Tim Chambly, who's been around forever. Tim actually teaches at the local tech school. Virtually every mechanic and controls guys in Atlanta was probably trained by Tim. So Tim's a wealth of knowledge. And then, of course, the manufacturers have such great training, too. So if we can't find it, we'll make it for you. Just let us know in comments what you want. But, hey, thanks again to Mike Glenn for that. Really nice job on that. And stay tuned for the high-pressure one coming up this week.
All right, next up we have using Cube I/O with Honeywell Spiders. This is Contemporary Controls Cube I/O. This is a great way to make the Honeywell Spider even more powerful. So we were talking about collaboration. That was one of our main stress points, and how the industry was accelerating in terms of disseminating information. This disruptive technology was coming in. It was a surprise to a lot of people, but now we have the ability to go to these meetings. We have the ability to share information, disseminate information so quickly. But what I really enjoy about Contemporary Controls is these guys are network leaders. They know all about the network. They really get BACnet. We've posted all 8 of their BACnet series training videos. And this is just another great product. So the first couple introduction sentences are, the Honeywell Spider VAV and unitary controllers are available with either a LAN or BACnet interface. These controllers typically have 21 physical points, but this point count can be expanded on the BACnet versions by adding Contemporary Controls BACnet Cube I/O modules and saving yourself the expense of another Spider controller. So I think you're seeing this kind of synergy. You're seeing this best in product, collaboration on a network that's open. So it gives the people that have a limited budget and they're just trying to make ends meet, but they've got important applications to still address. This gives them some options.
Really does, Kenny. And again, this is the brainchild of George Thomas and his just elite team over at Contemporary Controls. That's ccontrols.com, I think, for Contemporary Controls. We'll put a link on the website. Check these guys out, Kenny. You're right. They're all over the BACnet thing. The BACnet series we have posted on Control Trends. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put that in a format where you could just go to that resource center and just click on it and have all the BACnet videos right there. But these guys just do great stuff. And, of course, the Honeywell Spider is such a powerful controller, Kenny. As you know, it's very, very powerful. And to be able to expand it out with this low-cost functionality that Contemporary Controls is providing just makes it even more powerful. So great work there. George Thomas up for several awards at the Control Trends Awards. Kenny and I talk about him a lot on the show because we just think he is one of the best and the brightest in our industries. He's a little bit older, but I tell you what, you got to have, we're really going for the youth movement and talking about that and attracting younger people into the industry. But a guy like George Thomas and Ken Sinclair from Automated Buildings, those older guys, I mean, they're what give our industry really the greatness. So be sure to check George out. You can see him at the 2014 Control Trends Awards. I have it on good authority that he will be there. What we have up next, Kenny Smyers?
Oh, and by the way, you were right. It's it's ccontrols.com. So www.ccontrols.com will get you onto their website, to the main page.
Perfect.
All right, Eric, next up we have the Belimo. Better valve design equals better coil performance. I'll tell you what, this is, again, we're talking about really and truly squeezing the energy sponge, really getting maximum performance out of your system. And this basically augments your existing building management system, your DDC system, because this gives you some very tight control over the supply and return water temperatures. And, so are you better off with a flow-dependent or pressure-dependent control valve? Watch this video from the team at Belimo. This puts sensors in the line so you can improve your coil performance, tenant comfort.
All right, Kenny, I got to tell you, I just got back from the Belimo Platinum Distributor meeting down in St. Kitts, which was fantastic. So first of all, kudos to Gary Weber and Chad Blackmere. I mean, those guys know how to do a meeting, Kenny. They have them in great locations. You work during the morning, but you're out by 12 noon. Great event. So St. Kitts, if you've never been there, Kenny, it is the place, and Belimo does it right. But I tell you what, Kenny, these guys are so dialed in. Their big push now is energy savings. And when we talk about energy savings, I mean, we look at things like lighting. We look at things like DDC controls, and which you got to do all that too. But these guys are bringing it down to the valve level, Kenny. And their energy valve, the Belimo energy valve, which is up for the 2014, several 2014 Control Trends Awards, is something special, Kenny. It really is. I think this is really, really going to catch on. So for people that don't know, let's break it down a little bit, because guys like me and you, when we got trained in the business, everything was, pressure dependent, right? Meaning that you took a pressure drop across a coil or across the valve, and depending on that pressure drop, determine, how many, your C sub B factor or your GPM that would go through there. But it was dependent on there being some sort of a pressure drop. So that was pressure dependent. Okay, so, there was just so much you can do with that, and so you had to size your coils big. Your pumps had to be sized big. If you had a big, tall building, Kenny, you had to push all that water up to the top. But if, for everybody to be comfortable, but if you got down lower and one of your coils, or you had any sort of friction in the line, the coils at the top would get starved, and you would have all kinds of temperature controls problems. Well, Belimo's first step was they introduced the pressure independent control valve. And Kenny, what that basically does is has some pressure sensors in there. So instead of being based on a pressure drop to determine the flow that's going through there with these flow sensors, you're actually able to have the right GPM to go through for the load that you sort of need. Okay, so you get away from having to take a fixed pressure drop. That in and of itself, Kenny, saves huge money. It takes a lot of pressure off your pump. It takes a lot of pressure off of your system, and it really helps balance your system out. Now, Belimo believe Belimo pioneered this technology. If they didn't, they certainly were one of the first people to perfect it. And now you got several people playing with that particular product, and several people have really good pressure independent control valves, but it's independent of the pressure and the pressure drop. Belimo, Kenny, has taken it a step further. The energy valve is basically the combination of a PIC valve, pressure independent valve, and a BTU metering system. So what that allows you to do now is to control on temperature. Okay, so they're taking it to a whole new level. So also you can take that data right off of the energy valve, Kenny. You can take that right into your system. We all talk about big data and using data to become more efficient. You got a BTU system in every single one of these energy valves you have. Okay, so the question is, why hasn't Belimo sold a million trillion of these? Well, the big deal was up until recently, Kenny, it was for 4-inch. I think it was 4-inch and up. Kenny, these things are now down to 1/2 inch. So why would you put any other valve in other than a Belimo energy valve? Because you're going to get better control. You're going to get the energy data you need. You're going to control off of temperature versus pressure drops. You're completely pressure independent. And the savings, Kenny, they start at 30% and go up. So I think this is a game changer. I think any consulting engineers out there that are listening, reach out to Belimo or your local Belimo distributors. Come in and check this out. I mean, the payback on this versus what you pay a little bit more obviously to get this, but the payback for what you pay more, the incremental cost, that payback is so incredibly quick. It's a no-brainer, Kenny. So I'm sort of a man on a mission now to get the word out about the energy valve and that whole concept. I think it's one of the quickest ways we can shave energy costs, and it's mechanical. So you don't have to be a controls guy to do this. You just have to know that it's out there and make it happen. So hats off to Belimo on that. We've got videos on Control Trends. We'll post more about the energy valve. As a matter of fact, we will be live streaming, hopefully, fingers crossed. They're coming in this week to Stromquist and Company. I think it's Thursday. I'm going to actually be in Chicago with you that day. It's either Wednesday or Thursday. We're going to be doing a Belimo Lunch and Learn, which we will live stream. So, Kenny, do you think I'm excited at all about the Belimo energy valve?
I think they got you. I think you caught the bug, and there's a lot more there than just our brief coverage of it. And their website gives you the opportunity to watch several videos, but the two that always gets my attention are the energy valve, where they talk about dirty coil fins, they talk about the damage, and then they talk about the MIT case study as a testament to your energy savings. They've got a very strong testimonial from one of the most recognized technical schools in the world, and it was done there for that reason. In other words, this is not BS anymore. This is not conjecture. This is documented, factual information provided at a tremendously convincing level. But and I think you're right too. Right now, the early adopters are at certain places. I think Southern California, I think Arizona. I think like the big cities that are in these southwest areas of our country that need maximum performance, they're the earliest adopters. Then come the northeast, people up around the Connecticut, Massachusetts, even New York, and then coming down, of course, New Jersey. But I think our area, we're a slow adoption area, and we don't sell these. We've tried to get the engineering community to see it. We try to get the real estate people to see it. That the savings, it's sure there's a little bit up front, not a little bit, a lot more cost up front, but it sets an incredibly, what it reduces in your operational performance. Costs and then your energy costs, it pays you back so much quickly. But then you can sell that concept to your tenants. You can sell that concept to your school board. You can sell that concept to your municipality. So I don't understand it either. But them coming down to the 1/2 inch to 2 inch, because that's where the majority of these light commercial and commercial buildings are working. When you start getting into hospitals or the mush markets, municipalities, university schools, and hospitals that are universities, and you're getting into the 4 to 6 inch range. But so now that you've, like you said, having the ability to use those across the whole spectrum from 1/2 inch to 6 inch gives you a much more compelling, presentation when you're trying to sell this stuff. Because it still comes down to telling the story and then making people from their perspective, framing that properly so they can see the savings. And then they made just a tremendous documentation center. If you go to Belimo's site, there's just the story is just compelling, and it tells you what each advantage of each step you take. So we'd highly recommend that you catch some of this Belimo fever and use these case studies and product documentation to spread the story within your organization and make the decision, because it's a great decision.
It really is, Kenny, and congratulations to Lisa Hickey up there. She runs Belimo's marketing department. She really has revamped their websites and their messaging and just done a fantastic job. So the case studies, the videos that they do are top notch. And they've got some new tools they're coming out with, Kenny. The other big thing that Belimo, there's a ton that they introduced. They got a lot of new products that are coming out. They've added to their universal linkage setup, which for those of you who don't know, you can pretty much take anybody's valve body now, and Belimo will have a universal linkage kit that fits on very, very easily. Then you can use Belimo actuators if you want to, both on the valve bodies. And what that means to like a school board or something like that, Kenny, is they don't have to stock 15 different actuators. You can stock 1 or 2 actuators, a handful of these universal linkage, which will go both on the ball valves and the globe valves, and you got your replacements right there. So Belimo's all over that. We've talked about their zip economizer, which is up for some awards too, Kenny. And they keep improving that too. So lots to report from Belimo. Hope to get Gary Weber is supposed to come to town, I think next week. Hope we get him on the interview. We'll go through all these products and break them down for you. But the energy valve, let's not waste any more time with this. Let's get busy. Let's get this thing specified. Let's get it sold. It saves so much money and improves temperature control. And again, you don't have to be the automation guy to do this. If you're a HVAC service contractor, you're in a commercial building, and you're having temperature control problems because the coils are not getting enough either chilled or hot water at the higher level buildings, higher level floors, you are a candidate for this energy valve. All right, big dog.
Well, one more thing we just want to say, and we'll close down the Belimo blog or post, is that they've opened up that new facility, the state-of-the-art facility up there in Connecticut, and Danbury, Connecticut, and it is extraordinary. This is a robotic, application where they can manufacture basically, machine to machine, and it's incredible. There'll be a big meeting coming up there, and Mount Belimo is opening and fully functioning. So Belimo had some snags, some challenges providing, product during that transition, but that time period's over. Belimo's up to speed and up to snuff and ready to go.
Well, they really are, Kenny. And we actually got to see a video. Lars Vanderhagen could not be at the Platinum meeting. He's normally there. Lars is up for the HVAC Executive of the Year because Belimo basically, they completely automated this system, and they were saying that when they did the testing on it, it worked like at 1,000 pieces a day or whatever. But then when they get up to 7,000 or 8,000, what their capacity is, it sort of messed their system up. So these guys are all working Saturdays and Sunday to get this thing back online. They have, like I say, on the weekends and everything else. They were. Belimo really prides itself, Kenny, on just being top notch in terms of getting product out quickly. They've always done it. They're great. These guys are so humble. It was like, they're sort of embarrassed about it. They're apologizing about it, but you got to get Lars Vanderhagen working Saturdays and Sunday, every single Saturday and Sunday to get this thing resolved. And the people are coming in. They're tightening it back up. They're almost there. They're not quite there yet, but they've really tightened it down, Kenny. And part of this story was Lars couldn't be there, but he did take us on a little video tour of the new facility. And Kenny, you're right. Mount Belimo is the Mount Olympus of the controls world, buddy.
Well, see, that was the benefit of going to that meeting. I didn't know that they even had issues. So I'm jealous. St. Kitts, I got to get there one of these days. Man,
you got to for sure. So again, congratulations to Belimo. Great job, guys, and thanks for a great time down there. And Evelyn Grace, I tell you what, dude, she had a ball. So Anna and Evelyn went with me. I think I mentioned on the last show, Kenny, that Anna's about 5 months pregnant with a new baby, and and Evelyn's at an age that she's very challenging. And since I work all the time, we needed a break, so we got it. We actually went down several days early and spent some time there. And Evelyn she couldn't get enough of the pool, she couldn't get enough of the ocean, and she could not get enough of the food. So she's rocking out. As a matter of fact, I'll post, we got a post last night when we flew back. Evelyn hit the wall. I'll post a photo in this week's post, Kenny, so you can see what Evelyn looked like coming back about 11:30 last night.
Life in the fast lane. Okay, great. All right, Eric, that brings us to our very last post for this week. It's CoreTech 2014, the #1 program on corporate real estate and innovation in the world. Short message from Jim Young, co-founder and CEO of CoreTech. There are many moving parts in managing the real estate assets of a corporation, hundreds and hundreds of processes, a great amount of data, and many analog tools. And because of all this innovation in technology and automation, will continue to significantly impact the way we use and operate our corporate facilities, CoreTech suddenly becomes an epicenter of the corporate real estate and facility transformation. When you talk about smart, intelligent, integrated buildings, nobody says it better than Jim Young and Howard Berger. And this CoreTech 2014, if I can't make it, I sure will miss it, because there's no other place where the educational programs are, in the world. And I'd say this is a world-class event. The focus is on transforming corporate real estate and facilities through the use of innovation, technology, and/or automation.
Very, very cool. Jim, Howard, if either of you guys are listening and want to come on and tell our listeners a little bit more about CoreTech, you are welcome as always. You're right, Kenny. Great guys, super, super smart. Anything they put on is worth going to. So that being said, dude, I think we got another week under our belt. I'm looking at the video here a little bit, Kenny, and I'm a little rusty on that, so I apologize to our viewers right off the bat. We'll get better as time goes on with this. Enjoy the podcast. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. We got some good stuff coming up next week, Kenny. Like I say, live streaming with Belimo on either Wednesday or Thursday. Chris Eichmann from Johnson Controls is stopping in. Chris just recently got a promotion, so he is the head guy on the distribution side now. So congratulations to Chris Eichmann. He's stopping by this week. We're actually going to do a live stream with him, and I think we're going to go out to 4 or 5 different Johnson distributors, and he wants to be able to communicate to them via the live stream. But we'll get a chance to talk with Chris some, find out what's up with Johnson. So stay tuned for an interview with Chris Eichmann. We should have one of those up for you. And lots of good stuff. Rob Allen, 7 Minutes in Controls, has another post. Tim Chambly has worked on a post, our Tim's Tech Tip, where he's basically breaking down exactly how to calibrate one of those velocity reset controllers from Recruiter Controls. Those things are great, but can be confusing. Lots more training coming up. And, of course, Ken and I will be in Chicago Wednesday and Thursday, and we will be announcing the finalists for the 2014 Control Trends Awards. Should be a sold-out show, Kenny. I know we got a bigger space, but we got so much more interest this year. But reach out to our platinum sponsors. They are the ones with the tickets. My suggestion to you is book a ticket early, because it's going to be a lot of fun. Right?
A couple minutes. Watch the Steelers get beat up by Indianapolis Colts, probably. But oh well. No, I'll be working on this. I'm with you. We'll do some catch-up work here. Nice, quiet Sunday afternoon. So, no, that's it. There's already a big cycle of news and information, like you said. DOE's got several releases that we'll be posting. So, just going to be a big week next week. So, see everybody then.
That's right. And as my teacher Marshall Thurber once said, nothing is obvious to the uninformed. So thanks for tuning in to Control Talk Now, your smart building podcast. I'm Eric Stromquist. He's Ken Smyers. Have a great week and stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.